Welcome everyone to today's video. We're the Dimitrov-Boulay piano duo. My name is Dimitri Dimitrov.
And my name is Elvira Boulay. So today's video is perhaps a bit more for beginners, but to be honest, we see also a lot of intermediate students who need refreshing on this topic, which is a 6/8 time signature. What exactly does it mean? So one of the first things actually you learn when you start to play piano about rhythm is that a quarter note is one beat. But for today's video, we have to let go of that concept. What we do have to remember is actually how the notes relate to each other.
So what that means is that we're very used to the time signatures 2/4, 3/4 and 4/4, in which the upper digit, as you know, indicates that in every bar we have 2, 3 or 4 beats per bar, and the lower digit, which is the 4 in this case, would mean that a quarter note is going to be one beat. And this, in fact, the 2/4, 3/4 and 4/4 are such common time signatures that at some point we really believe that a quarter note is always going to be one beat.
But that's not always the case, as you'll learn further on in this video.
But anyway, the most important thing here is, I know that most of you probably would know what 2/4, 3/4 and 4/4 means, is like Elvira just mentioned, the important thing in this video is the relationship. We're going to talk about the relationship between the different length of notes. Like for example, let's take the quarter note because that's going to be our main beat right now. If I put the metronome, we're going to have, these are going to be our quarter notes. So every time you want to play a quarter note or one beat, you're going to have this. Right? Now after the quarter note, a slower note would be what? That would be a half note. And a half note would be 2 beats, or 2 quarter notes in this case. Now if I put the metronome, half note would be this. So we have 2 beats, in this case 2 quarter notes for each half note. So the half note is 2 times slower, double the quarter note. What's next? A whole note, right? A whole note is even slower. It's 4 times as slow as a quarter note, and a whole note we do this way. We have the metronome, which indicates our quarter notes, and then we have 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. To sum it up, quarter note, 1 beat, half note, 2 times as slow, 2 beats, and a whole note is 4 times as slow as a quarter note. That means we have 4 beats in a whole note. The other way around, the opposite way, we go to faster notes. Now a note that's going to be faster than a quarter note, as you know, is an eighth note. And an eighth note is 2 times as fast as a quarter note. In each quarter note, we have 2 eighth notes. We have the same tempo. Those were the quarter notes. 2 times as fast, the eighth notes would be. And what comes after the 8th notes? Come the 16th notes. They're 4 times as fast as a quarter note or 2 times as fast as an 8th note. So for each beat of a quarter note, we're going to have 4 8th notes. That relationship is extremely important because now we're going to move on to 6/8 so you can understand what happens there.
So Dimitar mentioned briefly at the beginning of this video that when we have a time signature, we have 2 digits, and the upper one always says how many beats there are in a bar. So for example, if you have a 6/8 time signature, you're going to have 6 beats in a bar. And the lower one says which note is 1 beat. The 8 stands for, as you've probably guessed, the 8th note. And in this case, the 8th note is 1 beat. So as I mentioned, you have to let go of the concept that a quarter note is always going to be 1 beat, because that's not the case in different time signatures. As soon as the lower digit is a different number, as soon as it's not 4 anymore, the quarter note is not going to be 1 beat. So 6/8 time signatures, we have 6 beats in a bar, and the 8th note is 1 beat. So that might be a little bit tricky to grasp, but all we have to do is take a look again at the relationship between the notes.
And remember that the relationship between the notes is never going to change. You will have always a quarter note and an eighth note will be always twice as fast. Or a 16th note will be twice as fast as an eighth note. Just how you think about one beat basically changes. That's the only thing that changes. One beat instead of a quarter note becomes an eighth note, but the relationship remains the same, and you're going to see that now.
So in a 6/8 time signature, our eighth note is going to be the star of the show. He's going to be the center of everything. He is going to be one beat. Let's take a look. If our eighth note is one beat, our quarter note, and I would like you to pause the video, just take a guess. No, don't take a guess. Think logically. What do you think the quarter note, how many beats is it going to be? Pause the video until you know the answer. Remember, the relationship is the same. A quarter note is always twice as slow as an eighth note. Our eighth note is one beat, so our quarter note is simply going to be double. It's going to be 2 beats.
Can we demonstrate that also with
Yes.
the metronome? I think that would be useful because it's a super simple idea. This, remember, was a quarter note. Now this is not a quarter note. This is an eighth note. Imagine, these are 8 notes. 4, 5, 6. We had a complete bar. We have 6 eighth notes that form one bar.
Yeah.
And you mentioned
Now
quarter
the
notes.
quarter note.
So what would be a quarter note in 6/8? It's going to be this. That means we've had a quarter note that lasts 2 beats each.
And if we think about it, our quarter note lasted 2 eighth notes. So it's exactly, the relationship is exactly the same.
Yeah.
So we discussed the quarter note. Let's take a look at a half note. A half note is double a quarter note. It's double as slow. And if you remember, our quarter note was 2 beats in a 6/8 time signature. So our half note, and you can pause it again, check to see if you're right. Our half note is going to be double. It's 4 beats.
So in 6/8, a half note is going to be this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Now let's take a look at the other side. Let's take a look at the faster notes. After the eighth note, you have the 16th notes, which is double as quick, double as fast as an eighth note, which means our eighth note was 1 beat. Our 16th note is going to be half a beat, which means that if we have the metronome...
So in the time of 1 tick of 1 beat, we have to play 2 notes,
Yeah.
2 16th notes.
That's going to be our 16th notes. And if we take one step further down, we're going to be double as fast again. We're going to go to the 32nd notes, and they're going to be again double as fast as our 16th, or 4 times as fast as our 8th notes, which means they are a quarter of a beat, which you usually don't think like that. You just think they're twice as fast.
And so if you want to play 32nd notes in 6/8 time signature, you get...
So I know it can be a difficult concept to grasp for the first time, especially for those of you who, have believed that the quarter note is always 1 beat. But once I think you get this concept a couple of times and you play a few pieces in a 6/8 or in a 3/8, 9/8 time signature, you're gonna get the hang of it real quick. But before we close the video, let's actually compare the 2 time signatures. Let's take a look at the 4 time signature, so 4/4, 3/4, 2/4. Let's take a look at the notes, the amount of beats there, and let's take a look at the 6/8 time signature, or 3/8, 9/8, whatever you would like, with an 8 as the lower digit, and let's compare them.
I believe that once you understand this relationship, you will never have any problem, because in music everything is quite logical. In rhythm, actually, everything is quite logical, and it makes so much sense. Just have a look a little bit at different pieces with 3/8, 6/8, and 9/8. If you have any questions, by the way, on this subject or any other subject, as always, feel free to let us know. We'd be very happy to answer. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. Don't forget to give us a like. And something else?
I think that was it.
That was it for us. Recording this video for you was a great pleasure. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week again.